Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's LinkedIn Live session, where we're going to be talking everything time tracker, more specifically, really the H1 release from SAP with regards to time tracker. I am Deon van Onselen, the Practice Director for Payroll and Time for Rizing, looking after the APAC region. Joining me today is Kathy. Kathy, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am Kathy Fraser. I am HCM Principal Consultant, Payroll and Time, I guess, and yeah, looking forward to this session today, going through the updates.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. SAP releasing a few new things around the time sheeting space. I think it's well anticipated in the market for SAP to bring something to market to bolster the timesheet solution that is currently available in SuccessFactors. So everyone's really been looking forward to the new upcoming time tracker solution. Just to sort of set expectations a little bit of time tracker and where SAP is at with it. It is a work in progress. It will be released in phases still over the next few half-yearly releases. Where we are at today sees us really with time tracker as a solution being available to an extent. Timesheet in EC is still a viable option for anyone that's currently on EC timesheet. So it's not that it's simply going to fall away completely, but SAP is definitely making a move into time tracker and releasing some nice things into that space. Like I said, a little bit of expectation setting of what time tracker is. From a SAP perspective, time tracker is really aimed to fill that mid-market space where companies are looking for a time sheeting solution that is robust enough that it can handle proper time sheeting with regards to in-clockings, out-clockings, across midnight time sheeting, all of those type of things, but is not really there to replace the solution extensions like the Kronos or workforce software, where you really have the dedicated time sheeting and rostering solutions that play in the large enterprise market. The aim of this really is to that mid-market where companies are looking for a timesheet solution that is usable and user-friendly. And one of the big drivers for SAP in the time tracker space is all about flexible configuration for you to be able to set up a timesheet solution that can do award interpretation, can pay employees according to the EBAs, but also has a nice user experience, and the key focus for them is around that user experience. So yeah, welcome today. Let's talk about time tracker and what is new, what SAP has released. As part of today's session as well, I will touch a little bit on what is happening new in the timesheet and time off space as well. SAP did have a few new releases in that space as well, so we'll touch on them right at the end. But let's jump into what is new for time tracker for H1 2021. The first cab of the rank for me is the introduction of single record approval, which is one of the notes that was released. Now, single record approval for everyone, just a little bit of explanation. What SAP is releasing is that when employees complete timesheets in the new time tracker solution, or the new timesheet solution for that matter, you will be able to allow the approval of single entries on that timesheet. So you don't need the whole timesheet to be approved. You can have single entries approved on the timesheet. Now, this really comes in handy when for two things really where I've seen it to be handy. One of them would be the scenario where you have an employee that needs to enter training, for instance, on their timesheet. But that training you really need to have pre-approved by a different manager. So the employee's line manager would not necessarily be approving this. The employee's line manager would normally approve the whole timesheet. But that training event itself, you want the training manager, for instance, to approve. Now, SAP is now making it possible for that training manager to only approve the training portion of the timesheet, and then the line manager to approve the rest of it. Kathy, have you seen anything around this piece that you found interesting? or things that people need to look out for?
I think the one note I read about it was that in order to submit the timesheet, so the submit job, even though you've got the ability to have the single record approval, the submit job will not pick up the timesheet until all the working time for that week has been approved. So I think a little...
Yeah, I think that's a big call out there. It is something to keep in mind that you still need the whole timesheet end to end to be approved before the submit event will actually send that off to employees into payroll. And that is definitely something to be wary of, I imagine.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. The other things is that I guess the single record approval only applies to time sheets, not the allowances. So another one to, I guess, be aware of for now.
Yeah, that is obviously a big call out. We were all assumed that if they're talking about single record approval, that it would be for everything, but a key call out that it isn't for allowances on timesheet, is purely for timesheet entries. Hey.
Yeah, and hopefully that will come. I guess if they've done this now, they can look at the allowances as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Another call out just on this change is it is an opt-in change, so it means that although it's generally available to everyone, you still need to opt in for this change on your timesheeting site. Otherwise, it won't be there automatic. Talking about general availability, this is the only change that SAP has made available in the general availability lifecycle portion for Time Tracker. We'll be talking about two other changes that SAP has released for Time Tracker, but please note that both those changes are for early adopters only. If you're not sure whether you're an early adopter or not, contact your account executive at SAP if you want to become part of the early adopters. It is really for those front runners that want to test out the system before it's generally released to everyone in the market. But let's jump in and talk about the two other changes that has come in for Time Tracker. One that probably sounds like it's not such a big release, but I'll talk about it in a little bit more detail, and you'll realize just the enormity of it really is the clock in and clock out. So what SAP has done is they've enabled the system now to track in and out clockings. In other words, you can now connect in and out clocking terminals to SuccessFactors, by which SAP will allow you to then, or SuccessFactors will allow you to import the in and out clocks to form the time entries on the timesheet. Now, this sounds pretty simple. It means just, instead of employee capturing an in and out time, it comes from a in and out clock from a clocking terminal. But the back end of it, or the work behind the scenes that SAP had to do for this, is actually really enormous. What they did in a bit of technical terms is they built a little microservice called the time event processor. Now, this time event processor actually collects the raw time events as they come in from the clocking terminals. It would validate them, it would pair them up into time records, and then those time records will be sent further down to the SuccessFactors timesheet as we know it, for further processing. Now, remember that time pairing sounds very simple. There's in clock and there's out clocking, and I just pair them together. But typically what happens in the real world is someone clocks in, they talk to their buddy next to them, and they clock in again, and then they go into the building, and when they come out, they clock out. Now there's two in clockings and only one out clocking. The smarts that SAP has to build into this little microservice is pretty cool to avoid duplicate entries coming through, or to get rid of those additional entries that shouldn't be there. And they've also made it possible for you to automatically create missing entries. So if an employee's got an in clock, no out clock today, and an in clock tomorrow again, you can automatically go and create out clock events to complete the time pair based on the employees. shift that they are on, or the working pattern or something like that. So pretty cool, actually, the what SAP has made available. Like I said, it sounds very simple, but in my technical speak, it's actually pretty cool, and I'm quite happy with it. But Kathy, from your point of view, anything that you've seen on this one?
Nothing that you haven't already said, actually. I have chuckled every time you've said it. It seems so simple, but it is a big piece, and this one again for the early adopters that you've already mentioned. So looking forward to seeing it in action at some point.
It's one of those where it is just a simple release note. It's just a simple change that SAP brought in, but the technical biasness of myself, and I'm sure there's other people out there that get very excited about these things. It might just be me. I'm a bit sad like that, but the people that are technically minded would understand that there's actually a big piece that SAP is releasing with this to make it possible. And you can clearly see the big step that SAP is making towards building a proper timesheeting solution in the market. SAP is making it clear that they're not there to replace the solution extensions, they call it, which is really those Chronoses and the workforce softwares. They're not looking to replace them, but they are looking to build a real robust mid-market solution in there that I think will be quite cool once all of the little pieces are in place.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one. The next one is the cross midnight for attendances. Now, this one has been coming for a while and has been asked for a while. There was quite a few customers that have asked for this on the old Easy Timesheets, or I'm saying old Easy Timesheets, the current Easy Timesheet solution. Everyone's been wanting it for quite a while, and SAP has responded by now eventually releasing it. Now, again, it's only an early adopters release for now, so it's not generally available yet, but it is on its way. So it will get tested this quarter and hopefully get released in the next half-year release for general availability. Now, what is this? It sounds simple again, but in essence, it just allows you to have timesheeting for employees either up to midnight or even across midnight. So in the previous versions of the EC timesheet, it had a limitation where employers could only use the timesheet up until a minute before midnight. You couldn't clock out exactly at midnight, and you also couldn't clock out on the next day. SAP has now made it available for employees to clock out at midnight or even after midnight, and it will automatically assign that time period to the previous day, have the little typical today +1 sign on it, so that you can see that it is the next day. And it's really pretty cool. I'm quite happy with it. One thing that I've picked up on it, and Kathy, I'll let you talk a little bit more about it, is it does require the new Timesheet Ui, which is the new timesheet user interface that SAP is talking about, which is really just the new front end, so the new timesheet screen that comes with Time Tracker. Have you seen anything else that popped up for you on this piece?
Nothing really. I think that's the big one, that the UI, and I guess the other functionalities as you've said. So I don't have anything more to add.
That's all good. There is obviously only so much that you can say about these. We are still waiting for the full release notes to come out so that we can actually get into it and have a play around and be able to talk a little bit more about it. But what we can read out of the documentation thus far, it seems to be pretty cool. It is definitely something that users out there have been asking for a while, and it's nice to see SAP respond to these type of things. So quite happy with that one being out there.
Yeah.
And that was really pretty much it, hey, for the time tracker. There wasn't anything new that you picked up from the latest releases. SAP didn't really release anything new except for these 3 release notes for Time Tracker.
That's right. Yeah, it's just those 3 this time. Yeah.
Yeah. This time around. Really looking forward to SAP releasing quite a bit more in the H2, or rather, half yearly 2 release for 2021. Quite excited for the new early adopter pieces to become generally available. That's going to be really nice. I think there's a lot of companies that should be jumping onto that and will be jumping onto that, because it is quite a nice mid-market timesheet solution. What they do offer, like I said, is that flexible configuration tools that will be out there. So you'd be able to configure the timesheets to generate premium payments based on your EAs, which is really nice. It's really going to be working well for a lot of customers. There's a few more releases or release notes that came out around the time sheeting, time off part. They are all related to time sheeting, or rather time off as opposed to time sheeting, or replication from time off time sheets to employee central payroll. And I thought of touching on them today as well, just because I think a lot of people that be in the audience today would be interested to know about the stuff that's going downstream from this as well. So the first one that caught my eye was the replication of custom fields from Employee Central to Employee Central Payroll for absences, so absence data. Really what SAP is bringing to the table there is just that you can now have additional fields available to capture around absences. Additional fields, what we might think about is if we already capture a sick certificate, but what if you wanted to capture a certificate number, or a training certificate number for a training absence that you might have? SAP will now allow you to have custom fields available on the EC side, so the SuccessFactors side, and you can use the extensibility to connect those fields into the InfoType 2001 ECP backend side, so that you can capture that data all the way through, which in theory makes it available to be able to print on payslips and all of that thing, because it's available on the ECP side. But really nice to see SAP is still spending time in working on their base product and bettering that for people going forward. That was quite a nice one. Can you think of any other circumstances where you can see that being useful?
I can't really, to be honest. I in terms of the payroll engine, I can't see other information that we've been missing, I guess. But someone's clearly asked for something along the way there, so for them to bring in this feature. So, yeah.
The next piece that came along, I think, is an interesting one. It's all about the deletion of substitution records in the system. And I'll probably start by painting the picture of what the issue was before we see what SAP has released for it. The issue really was around when you used planned working time replication from Employee Central to Employee Central Payroll, and fairly new is available as well. Only really came out last year, but SAP is now allowing you to have the planned working time replicate across into ECP on a almost real-time basis. This goes into the substitutions InfoType in ECPs, or InfoType 2003. Now, there was a little bit of an issue with that if an employee was hired and you started replicating these substitution records across, or the planned working time, and you then moved the employee's start date because the employee never started on time, they started a week later or something, which happens in real life. I mean, it's a real life scenario. Then there was no cleanup functionality to go and clean up those substitution records that existed prior to the employee actually starting. And if you then ran payroll, then payroll fell into error with saying that there's substitution records existing in the system. And we all know that the whole idea for ECP is to not have to go into the back end and tinker around with stuff there. So what SAP has released now is just some automated deletion of the InfoType 2003 substitution records in the ECP backend if you were to move an employee's hire date, which I reckon is pretty cool. I can definitely see the advantage for businesses there. it's avoiding them from having to go into the back end and having to go and play around with those. So yeah, nice one that they made available. It's universally available, so it will be in your system available as of I think it's June that this drops in.
Yeah, and I think this is another one, Deon, where it seems like such a simple little thing, but it wouldn't happen very often, or but when it does happen, it would be an absolute pain for the payroll team to have to go up and clean it all up. And so it's just a small thing, but I think it's really good that they've released something to fix that up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite happy with it. Then there's two more release notes available for this half-year release. Both of them are around leave loading. So I'll cover them sort of off in one. I'll clearly state which one is which. But what SAP made available now is the leave loading payout on terminated employees. So that's one half of it, which is all around the whole thing of an employee terminating and you wanting to pay out his leave loading. Now, SAP has made it available that you can schedule a job in the leave loading year-end job configuration piece that will automatically then pay out or create the leave loading request for that terminated person, which is pretty cool. You don't need to manually go and enter it in. It will automatically be created. So it's if someone terminates, they forget to go and create that leave loading request that needs to be in the system can now automatically go and create that leave loading request so that we're sure we pay that out, which is pretty cool. I can see the business need for that really arising there. Additional part to that same note was that terminated employees can create standalone requests for that leave loading payout. And the fact that they can create it through employee self-service, so it makes it really easy. They can just jump in, go and say, I know I'm going to terminate. Let me put in a request to pay out my leave loading. Or if an employee forgot to do it, then they also made a manager self-service piece available for the manager to go in on the behalf of the employee and put in that leave loading payout request. So again, like you said, it's another smallish change, but I think it's a nice change that definitely will fill a gap in the market that is there for just that annoyance of forgetting to go and create that leave loading payout request.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The last one that goes together with this first one is just the future dated leave loading calculation rather. So in the past, when you put in leave loading request, it would have to be up to today. SAP now allows you to, or SuccessFactors rather, now allows you to do future dated requests calculations. So it will calculate your leave loading what it should be for a period forward. Where I really see this come in handy is when we have payrolls where we pay people in advance. So employees going to be on leave in 2 weeks' time or for the next 2 weeks. It's middle of the month. We run a payroll that is a monthly payroll and we pay people 2 weeks in advance, 2 weeks in arrear. The system can now actually calculate the leave loading for those advanced dates as well for the future dates, which is pretty cool. Again, it's just building on stuff that's already there, building on stuff that's already working and just improving it so that it is a complete end-to-end solution. So quite cool, that one. Anything else that you picked up in this release that jumped out for you?
No, I think that was all in the time tracking and the additional things there at the end. So I don't think there's anything that hasn't been covered.
Yeah. It was sort of a lean patch for SAP with releases into the time sheeting, time tracker space. I reckon it's probably sort of self-explanatory if you look at what we talked about, time tracker right at the start, the fact that it might be a small change coming in, but if you look at it technically, it's a big technical change that SAP has released. SAP has spent, or SuccessFactors has spent a lot of time on building out the new functionality, what's going to come up, what's new in that space. And I think it's really excited, or I know that there's a lot of customers out there that's excited about the time tracker solution properly coming in and being available, because it's really going to fill a gap there that people is looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with that. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, that's really all that I had on today's menu. I want to thank everyone. Yeah. I want to thank on the menu. I want to thank everyone for your time today, for listening in, or if you're listening this on catch up. Hope you have a good remainder of your day, and thanks for everyone. Any last words from you, Kathy?
No, but thank you, everyone, and thanks, Deon, for all of that information.
No worries. All the best, and see you guys next time.
Bye.